Well, welcome back to the Clinic Efficiency Podcast. I'm Donald Weeks, founder and CEO of ClearPath AI. And today I'm joined by Mark Coronel. He's the 2024 IDEA Health and Fitness Association's Personal Trainer of the Year, co-founder of Duo Core Solutions, and someone who spent over 2 decades as coach who coaches coaches, building the master training programs for brands like TRX, TriggerPoint, and Under Armour, and then educated thousands of fitness professionals across the industry. Mark is based in Las Vegas, and he's one of the most candid voices I've come across on what's actually working and what's broken in the health and wellness space right now. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Donald. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Excellent. Well, Mark, for 20 plus years, your role wasn't to train clients directly. It was to build the coaches who train the clients. You were the first person in TRX at TriggerPoint, at Under Armour, developing the master coach programs that would go out and educate everyone else. So what does it actually take to build a program that gets trainers to internalize and teach something well enough that they can explain it to their clients like they invented it themselves?
Okay, well, just to clarify, so not all programs. I work with TRX and TriggerPoint. I did not build everything that I taught. So the majority of the time, when you first get started, somebody else builds it. You're basically the educator that is out there. And as an educator, I got to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. Was a shout out to Chris Frankel. He's very much responsible for a lot of the information and how it changed the way that the industry kind of absorbed and took the information that was presented to him.
Okay. Mark, for 20 plus years, your role wasn't to train clients directly. It was to build the coaches who trained the clients. You were the first person in at TRX, at TriggerPoint, and at Under Armour, developing the master coach programs that would go out and educate everyone else. So what does it actually take to build a program that gets trainers to internalize and teach something well enough that they can explain it to their clients as if they had invented it themselves?
It takes a revolution, right? So just in education alone, a lot of people know that, PEMDAS or math, different math problems, you have different ways of learning, you have different ways of remembering. And for a long time, the way things were presented in the fitness field, it would almost look like a science fair or some sort of, illogical equation that you'd have to figure out and find out how that works. And the companies such as TRX and TriggerPoint and a lot of these companies figured out at an early point, in order for them to have any sort of retention, they needed to actually have a conduit. That conduit is not just me. There was a whole cadre of us. Every company had probably about 10 or 12 different ones that duplicated into hundreds and thousands of other coaches. So to have that stick, what needs to change? The way that they learn. A lot more people are visual in the fitness and wellness industry than they are bookworms. So it's not that easy to just say, hey, I'm going to send you a bunch of information. You read it over, and then we'll come talk about it, and you'll get tested out. Most people with MBAs would love that type of information. Like, oh, you're going to actually send it to me first. I get to read it, and then we're going to talk about it. Yes. In the fitness industry, people are more visual. They're more tactile, so they want to be hands-on. And a lot more people enter that industry because they are tactile learners. They are visual learners. And so when you meet them there, and when there is the ability for them to learn something, to then talk about it, and then even getting the opportunity to teach it back. Well, those are learning principles that they come from different educational systems all around the world. You can look at a Montessori, you can look at a Dalton system, you could look at very classical trained school systems. But in order to be different, we also had to create a culture. And that culture spawned from itself without much prodding or inspiration from the company itself. And within us as instructors, we ended up kind of just pushing it some more. One idea perpetuated another idea, and the next thing you know, you have a company that's rolling and moving up a hockey stick.
Right. Excellent. Well, I know you've described communication as the single most important thing you bring to any engagement, whether it's a trainer, a clinical team, or a wellness brand trying to grow. You made a point in our pre-call that really landed with me. Doctors and clinicians sometimes speak over their patients' heads, and fitness has this different tradition of meeting people where they are. What does meeting people where they are actually look like in practice, and why do so many organizations get it wrong?
Because they don't listen. They don't actually listen to the client at the moment. And it's almost the same as passing a ball in basketball. Are you going to blame the person that passed it, or are you going to blame the person that's catching it? Right? That's another conversation for a different day, especially if you play basketball. Taking an idea and being able to transfer that idea into someone else's head, that's one thing, but making it stick and then being able to say, I explained that in a language that was easy to understand. Therefore, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson go home, knock on the neighbor's door and go, I learned something really cool today. What is it? This is what it is. So you have some understanding. Those are the same things that we talked about. And one of the reasons why, for example, the television show, The Doctors, was created because one of the producers on that show had to deal with doctors and his parents, and he didn't understand what they were saying because they were talking over their head. So for a lot of companies, I would say, reduce the ego because the people that you are marketing to, the people that you actually want to have pick up your stuff and run with your education, your marketing, your flag, your banners. Well, if they don't understand what they're doing, they won't be able to explain it to someone else. And one of the simplest things that we all learned in school was, you know, photosynthesis. Like, we could talk about that forever because everybody understands the basics. There's a sun, there's a plant, the plant absorbs the sun, we eat the plant, woo, energy, right? So that's the most rudimentary version. And then if we sit with some biochemist and yeah, we can get lost in the minutia of it, but more isn't better. Better is better in explanations.
Right, absolutely. Well, DuaCore works with health, fitness, and wellness professionals who are trying to build sustainable businesses, not just big followings. Now, you told me about a DPT client, a physical therapist 4 years into her career, who doesn't like where she is and wants to change things but it feels stuck. That's a pattern you see a lot. And what are wellness and fitness professionals most commonly doing wrong when they try to turn their expertise into thriving practice and actually something that really works?
They have no plan, they have no system. So you enter the world as a DPT or a chiro or a personal trainer. There's nowhere in school where you're going to have to sit down and take a business course or learn how to sell. But everyone's going to give you great ideas and how to go about it. And chiropractors and physical therapists often have their 6 months or their 10 months where they basically give 50% of all their pay to a building for them to be there and do some sort of fellowship. It's an odd relationship, in my opinion. No different in many ways than personal trainers coughing up 80 to 85% of their pay. So how can someone like that differentiate themselves from the thousands of people that are going to graduate this year? By understanding that there's definite gaps in their own education, there's gaps in their business, and a lot of them don't know how to set up a business. They don't know how to set up an LLC. They don't know how to set up a corporation or understand that it has to come with a mission, a vision, some values that correspond also with your personal values so that you can say, hey, this is really my business, and it's a business, not a hobby. So learning the things and registering and all those pieces, they can fall into play from a regular business coach. But when it comes to the fitness and the wellness industry, there's not a lot of education when it comes to marketing. There's not a lot of education when it comes to sales arm. So you're basically going to be left with whatever else, whatever else everyone else is using. That doesn't always work.
Right, absolutely. Well, I know you've said something I want to put on the table directly for our audience. There's a difference between the fitness industry and the fitness business. The fitness industry is the people doing the work every day. The fitness business is the companies profiting from them. You've watched cold plunge, red light therapy, compression therapy, things like that have been around forever. But suddenly they explode because big companies got behind them. Now, what does that pattern tell us about how the health and wellness space actually works and what should clinic operators understand about it?
Well, it's as simple as Tom's toothpaste, right? Or Kashi. All these organic brands get bought up by a Procter and Gamble, by Unilever, and then the heart and soul gets sucked out of it because it turns into a numbers game. The fitness industry is no different. The fitness industry is great until you really start digging around and start finding out that there's lots of companies, hedge fund companies that are coming in, dropping lots of money into the fitness industry, but they're changing the way that the fitness business looks. A great example is uh, there's big box gyms and there are boutique style gyms. If you're in the middle, not good for you. Definitely not good for you. That's a what is it called? A barbell effect, right? That's not a good place to be. And then what a lot of people don't see, the consumers don't see, that a lot of those boutique gyms are owned by the big box gyms who are actually just kind of trying to diversify. And it's almost like Camry and a Lexus. It's the same manufacturer, right? So the dollar ends up the same place, and a lot of people don't see that. These gyms don't respond to really what people want and need. You could look at local legislature; they don't really find the middle ground. Hey, what's big? If you really want to start something off here, we can pick 3 or 4 states where the gender thing could be a really big thing, and it could be solved so easily by a forward-thinking fitness business. Put a 3rd bathroom in, put a 4th bathroom in. You got some space, 140,000 square feet, 200,000 square feet. Put another bathroom. Make things a little easier, but they don't really listen because they're pushing the direction. Right now, the fitness business is pushing Pilates. There's nothing else being pushed harder than that. Second to that is strength, and third to that is recovery. Now, why Pilates? I don't know. Anybody ever take Pilates? It's not cheap. You don't walk into
No, it's not.
and say, "Hey, I forgot my socks." That's all right. You can go get those for $35. Oh, okay. And what is the monthly here? Well, about $280. Is that unlimited? Absolutely not. That'll probably buy you about 3 weeks worth of classes at a cadence of 2
Wow.
times a week. So there's money that goes up. And then how much does the average instructor make? Not a lot, right? So the average
Right. Right.
instructor's pay rate hasn't gone up in the last 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
But if you go into the store and you say, "Hey, didn't I buy a TRX suspension trainer here?" And they go, "Oh, that one? Yeah, that used to be $184." Well, how much is it now? $279. But the cost of manufacturing hasn't gone up. No. Tariffs and stuff. Yeah, yeah. But that much more? No. The margins get increased. Every business wants to put you on a subscription as a service model because that's popular. They don't want to give you it off. They want to hold on to you for months. So, yes, I can sit here and we can bitch and complain about this for hours and hours. But at the end of the day, when you're a consumer, when you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, it's time to look at it maybe a little bit more ethical and then say, definitely learn from that. What if you start as a subscription-based service where people check in and once a week or however many times you want to drop knowledge, you drop knowledge. And in return, you gain a following. And you could do it as authentically and transparently as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mark, GLP-1s are everywhere right now, and clinics are prescribing them. Gyms are responding to them. Fitness professionals are trying to figure out where they fit in. You had a strong take in our pre-call. What is your honest assessment of what GLP-1s mean for the health and fitness world, and what's your concern about where it's going?
The GLP-1 industry is pimping the living daylights out of the fitness industry. And here's why. Because your average fitness instructor doesn't know what they're selling. They have no idea. They're going to get a little manual. They're going to repeat a bunch of marketing copy, but they don't know. They don't even know how many muscles are in the human body. They don't even, half of them can't even tell you where the strafe is, how many bones are in the human body. That is their lane. Now imagine that you take that car, you put it in a GLP-1 lane. That's an endocrinology lane. So you've got fitness and wellness selling these things, but nobody wants to talk about all the problems. Nobody wants to talk about the amount of fat loss you have in your face, the sagging faces, the Ozempic face, the Ozempic butt. So these are not glamour, but we are glamorizing lots of celebrities who are promoting this, who don't need it. They have all the tools to technically not need a drug, yet they still take it. And then you can see that there's some mental health issues because it just goes down the drain. So the fitness industry is trying to prepare all these trainers like, oh, you're going to get all these Ozempic people in there. At this point, I would almost advocate for mental health awareness because if you look at the marketing branch for GLP-1s, it's fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's an opportunity for you. And you too should add those into your protocols. But how many people know that Ozempic, the brand, is being sued for $2 billion? Why? Because gastrointestinal problems. Why? Because people are actually finding out that they've got some issues once they're on there. I've lost clients because of it, right? That didn't tell me that they were on it because if they were telling me that they were on it, I tell them, get off of it. I know what I'm doing. Next thing you know, you don't have a client anymore. So these GLP-1s, the most profitable company in the world, and it started a couple of years ago when the United States let them in, is not from the United States. They're from Iceland, and they can't sell their product anywhere in the European Union.
Right. That's
Wonder
correct.
why? Well,
Yeah.
Europe does have some different standards, especially when it comes to health and wellness. Sometimes they get caught a little different than the United States, but most of the time, I would definitely say that the EU's got a little bit better grasp on health and wellness. We still are pimping out Red 40 in Gatorade these days, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
for a gym to push that, in my humble opinion, yes, you're in a capitalistic society, you're capitalizing on what's going on, but you couldn't explain. This goes back to our earlier point. They can't explain in a language that's easy to understand and that's truthful what it is that GLP-1 will do and what the risks are that are associated with it. Because all those personal trainers can just sit here and sell GLP-1s. I'd like to just, start my GoFundMe right now for us to build a rocket ship. I'd like to go to Uranus. I heard it's great, especially in December. And the one I want to build is going to be a discount one. It's going to have 5 seats if you want to come down as you come. That's about the same thing. I'm not a NASA space engineer. And a lot of my peers are not endocrinologists. And then when I look at my other peers who are the clinical nutritionists and the high level registered dietitians, people that deal with blood work and hormones all day long, they're the ones going against it. So
Right. They
if
are.
my social media is setting me up to where I look at it and go, oh my gosh, everybody in fitness is doing it. Well, that's a great sheeple mentality. So I'll do it too. No different than people still icing to this day. Most people sprain an ankle, you put ice on it. Why? Because everyone is doing it. Somewhere, my grandmother, your grandmother is cringing just because everyone's doing it. Right? We're going on Friday. Great. What are we doing? Oh, we're stopping and buying illegal stuff first. Oh, okay. Who else is going? Doesn't matter. Everyone's doing it. Okay, let me go tell my mom. It doesn't work that way anymore.
Doesn't work. No.
So for GLP-1s to enter our industry, especially the fitness industry, we are not prepared. And honestly, are you looking at the people? There's maybe 2 or 3 people that I'd say, you know what, they've written some materials on it so that you learn more. But then there's also a handful of people that are standing hand in hand with fitness companies. I'm sorry, with fitness business companies that are pushing GLP-1
Pushing.
or
Right.
that are pushing peptides, right? Noom just dropped something, just said, hey, 70% of all their users have extremely high LDL. LDL is a conversation for a different day because I think that we're all being too. Higher LDL is associated with low risk mortality, by the way, and nobody tells. But everybody's like, "Oh, your cholesterol is high." I'm like, "What? No, 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 no," because that's antiquated. Icing a wound is antiquated. Science catches up, so we should catch up as well. So if you have companies that are saying, "Here's the problem," and then they go, wait, here's also the solution. That sounds like a lot of companies that I had to learn about 5 years ago.
Right. That's right.
Okay. So if anybody's watching,
Yeah.
you already know what we're talking about. But that's the
Right.
that's it. Like how can we actually how can we evolve as an industry when you have companies that are self-certifying themselves? Kim Kardashian is dropping a drink that has paraxanthine in it. Nobody knows what paraxanthine. Look up paraxanthine, then you'll find that they have a grass status. The grass status is the status. Did we talk about that last time? Is the
No.
self is it's the self-approved status that a company can give themselves. And the very first company to ever do that was in 1963, and they start with a P and end up with a E with an R, and they have a Z in there. They
Right.
associate themselves with a direct jab, right? So,
You're right.
well, that company pushed through animal. They changed animal rennet to make cheese and made their own mRNA version of that microbial enzyme. So that set it up to where we are now, where Kim Kardashian can come in and say, "Hey, we've got something called paraxanthine. It is way better than caffeine because it gets you the same spike, but not the big dump." Sound familiar, right? It doesn't have
Oh
to be.
yeah.
So that's what they're pushing. So they have the same grass status, and the grass status is just a administered certificate of, hey, this won't hurt you. So
Right. Yeah.
when I'm done making my moonshine, Donald, I'm going to invite you over. You're actually going to be I'm not even going to touch it first. It's my first batch ever. I would like for you to take the first shot. It's going to be a double shot. Okay. We're gonna have
Right.
the EMTs on standby because I think we're gonna need them, and probably a helivac too, because I think we're gonna
Right.
shut the entire body down, right? But don't worry, it's FDA approved because it has GRAS status, GRAS, and that's the sad part.
Right.
Fitness industry is
Right.
being leached into, in my opinion, by medical companies. They're being into by pharmaceutical companies because you can't cure anybody if you can't put them on a subscription as a service. So as long as I keep you going with pharmaceuticals and every month we're re-upping, why would I solve the problem and why would I actually cure your problem?
They don't want to. Yeah.
They won't, and
Lose money.
they'll never do it. And
No, they won't.
they found out are the same people my grandmother talked to when I was little. Like, you know what they say, right? Like, who are they? Who are they? And then finally you go, wait a minute, I know who they are now. If you don't know, if
Yeah.
you're watching right now, you don't know who they are. I am so sorry. There's no them involved. It's just a they. So if you know who they are, then you know. And if you don't know, you're probably young.
You're right. Right. Exactly.
You're probably young because I used to say that too at 20s. Like, what's wrong with them? There's something wrong with those old people. They talk about
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's good. Well, the last question is It's a practical one for operators and clinic leaders in our audience who are adding or thinking about adding wellness and fitness programming. If you could give them one piece of advice from 20 years of building brands and training the trainers who run these programs, what would it be?
Get to know your clients, like really get to know your clients. Be interested, take notes, make notes. Mark, I got 40 clients. Cool. Then you got a big, thick book that you write into. Nothing digital, nothing that you can lose, nothing that could be hacked because it's personal information. Learn about their birthdays, about their pet peeves, about their kids, their names, where they're going to college. And you'll find out that, yes, maybe you are not making $175 an hour, but guess what? You can make $25 an hour, but your client happens to own a plane and a house in Bora Bora that you can use,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah,
being able to really listen and learning how to communicate, that's also a skill. So listening is a skill, but learning how to communicate, that's definitely a skill. And yeah, if I can go back 20 years ago and start all over, I'd probably tell everybody, listen more than you talk. You don't know as
there you
much.
go.
And that's me talking to Mark. It's like, Mark, yes, you don't know that much. Who's this guy? Right. So
Right.
that's me. Yeah, that's me. That would be me 20 years ago. My ego was much bigger. And then you start learning that you actually don't know anything. And that's the old
That's right.
proverbial. But once you realize that you don't know anything, I think you turn into a better version of yourself and a different human
Well,
being,
yeah,
especially if you're a teacher, you teach better. And once you start learning, and here comes the business part of it. Once you start learning more about your clients, the referrals are so much more natural. And
that's right.
I'm going through it right now too. Like, hey, I'm always looking for more business. I'm always looking to work with more people. But I think for the last 25 years, I was very blessed when somebody goes like, "Ah, man, you look for work." I go, "No, it finds me, man." Why? Because
Right.
other people talk about me, and
Right.
everyone and anyone that is listening, I would tell you the same thing. Talk to them. Get to learn. Get to know something about your client. But when you have to, when it's your hour, you're suited and booted, and you are 1,000% the professional. That hour is done. Hey, high five, right? Establish your own way. Because that's the cool thing about having your own business. But once you get to know these people, now how do you keep track of them? How do you actually encourage them to help you out as a business? Well, this is where all that time kind of kicked together into a course that we built at Dual Course Solutions. And it's called Your Fitness Marketing System. And it's actually an hour and a half worth of video. It's not a lot. You'll be entertained, lots of pictures, right? And and a big thick book of prompts and directions on how to build out your own marketing referral system on a cloud-based operating system where you
Right.
say, "Hey, I got some stuff running in the background and it helps me to speak to my clients in my voice. You don't have to hire a marketing company." So the physical therapist that we were talking about earlier, well, I got them out of dumping about 1,700 to 200 $2,000 a month. And now she does it on her own. And so we help her maintain. But the maintenance fee from us is 500 versus 1750. Then that maintenance means we do it all for you. Right. So all you got to do is just be there the day they will log in and give us access to certain things, or we could just run it. We don't have to. So there's so many different options to help people out. But my thing in the fitness industry is this. And from me to you, and from me to the entire fitness industry, I don't want to come in and Bedros Cooley everybody at $3,500 per hour. I'd much rather say, hey, I know that $350 for you is a lot of money. So you do that one time and it helps you for the rest of the year. Yes. And then just stay in touch and be a part of a community where people speak freely because a lot of the information is free. We all have phones.
Right.
So you have free
That's
information.
right.
You're much smarter than you think you are. But if you now learn how to be more resourceful, now you don't have to be on that side of the aisle talking about, I'm going to lose my job because of AI. Instead, I would like for everybody to say, I'm going to excel because of AI.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good. Well, Mark, thank you so much. I think this has been a very good conversation. And, I'd like to ask you one more thing, though. From what we've talked about so far, is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't, or that you wanted to tell our audience?
No, I mean, we could talk about things forever. I think, I saw this
Yeah,
is me that you actually have your notes were like, Mark's anecdotal. Yes, if you haven't figured it out, I like anecdotes. Here's
right.
one for you. Right? And this is how I saw this morning. I was like, you know what? That's life. That's relationships, but that's also business. A child asked his father, "Hey, how come you stayed married so long? To the same woman?" And I love this answer. He goes, who says it's the same woman. And if you've been married for a while, you understand it's definitely not the same woman. But the story
Right.
once it clicks, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a really cool way of doing it." Because he's basically saying, "Hey, my partner, the person I love, they change. And so in order for me to stay with them, I have to change. So I'm meeting this new lady every, 4 or 5 years. And right around
Right.
perimenopause, the crazy comes out. But if you can hold on, gentlemen, you're gonna be just fine. I promise you, you're gonna end up with the most beautiful relationship because it's just part of being a human being. But that's how I look at it. If you continue to adapt in the industry, you'll never be phased out. If you continue to grow within the industry and not be afraid to learn and to understand that you don't know it all and there's not one dogmatic approach, not everything is TRX, not everything is Life Fitness, not everything is Under Armour. There's got to be a little room here for like a Vivo Barefoot or a Puma, right? You can't just grow up Coca-Cola alone. And once you find out that it cleans batteries, you probably will stop drinking that stuff. So yeah, that's what I would tell everybody, just
Yeah.
easy,
Yeah,
easy
absolutely.
and learn. Listen, learn, and you'll grow. And more importantly, find your people.
Yeah. No,
Otherwise,
that's very
you'll just
good.
feel alone. Find your people, man.
Yeah. Well, that's very good, Mark. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. And I think everybody's really going to enjoy this. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.